Welcome all of you. Today we are in this very special episode, and this is absolutely the first episode of the Inertia Dialogues that are going to be brought to you from our stable of Inertia, Asia's premier journal on sustainable energy power. We started in 2007, and I have my colleague A. Prakash Iyer. I'm Professor Iyer, editor and publisher of Inertia, and my executive publisher and editor, Prakash Iyer. Today, since we launched this in 2007, we have roughly seen the growth of both the power industry and also the problems that the power industry faced in a big way in this period, and we have brought it to a situation where today Inertia is not only a leader in India but also a leader in the Asian region in the area of power, energy and related infrastructure growth. And as a publishing brand, as a B2B brand, we've done justice to the effort that we put all these years. And for this success, I have a very special person today, and that is Prakash Iyer, who has been involved with this whole thing since its inception as the founder and as the person who has been responsible for the research and other issues in the publication. So if you see the whole thing, the editorials that you get from us on a day-to-day basis is thanks to the effort that he and his team puts up on a daily basis. And he's a very specially able person. He's a very special person in the industry. As a person who has had the challenge of a physical disablement in life very early on when he was barely 6 months old, and the complication which resulted in 100% debilitation of his lower limbs did not deter him from achieving the success in life, and actually in achieving everything that a normal person would do. And in fact, I would say he has achieved much more than most of us would achieve with everything that we have. So with this, I would begin the dialogue. Of course, we will know more about him through these Inertia Dialogues, which we will continue to have on various issues of the country, which has been the vision with which Inertia has been working on the energy space. And we will also come in the infrastructure space with our other publication, Marconomy, where we are going to discuss what's happening to the various sectors of India, like ports, like airports, like the road infrastructure, even the ocean infrastructure, and also the infrastructure related to our urban development. And do we really need this urbanization? Or, as famously we wrote in our book jointly, India Brandished, the Branding of a Nation, in 2003, we were a little bit averse to the model called Pura, right?
Yeah.
That was the great Abul Kalam wanted to discuss Pura, which is providing urban amenities in rural areas. But we wanted to look at a little different objective, because just providing amenities may not suffice, although it may be a starting point. With all due respect to Kalam Sahab, Kalam Sahab's position was correct when he wrote about Pura, because that time the amenities were a question. But we always felt amenities, people would end up making the toilet and bathrooms, and the rural infrastructure growth will end there. So we wanted something else. So we wanted the entire economy to do a RELC. What is RELC? We are very clear. That is remote location of strategic infrastructure and industry. And in fact, it's very interesting that recently Narendra Modi called it urbanization. So very, very, very similar models have come, which was in our book in 2003. Mind it, my friends. In 2004, Vajpayee ji unfortunately lost his position after doing the first round of development and bringing the road infrastructure to the country, and his whole dream of networking the river remained and has remained till now. And that in a very small way has been done by Gujarat. So there are a lot of these kind of issues which we will bring through this program. And I just wanted to give a gist in a very brief introduction and say that here is Prakash, who has worked successfully through his physical challenges, and he has contributed throughout in media, and media must celebrate him, because there will be no executive publisher in the country who would be in his position or who would have done all this, and especially in a very, very complex area of the economy called energy, power, infrastructure. That is the domain we are talking about. To discuss daily politics, to just get along with all those things without understanding the country is very easy. But to do all these things is a major challenge, to understand subject, to understand domain. So what do you think about this first, before we even start what we want to start today? We're going to discuss very interesting issues, but I want him to say a few words on this issue.
Professor, you've been very kind to me. You have eulogize me, but I think that whatever needed to be done was, every individual strives hard to achieve excellence in his life, and I've strived hard to do justice to whatever I've tried to do in my life, and there will be a lot of things like it is, in a way you can say that you will, do so many things. Others have to judge what you have done. I'm happy that you appreciate what I've done, and I hope that everybody who come to see my work understand what I have done and appreciate me. That is the objective with which we continue to do and try working out everything in life.
Yeah, but it's very simple, See what happens, the best way is to communicate. The medium is there. We as very young entrepreneurs, we had no money, right, when we started. And through the process of without money working, and even today we don't have a bank loan, right, when we operate. So these are the issues that I think most of the entrepreneurs will have to look at. So it's a question of entrepreneurs and intrapreneurs together at the top, and a good team that works together. So I'm going to say we need not be so, I would say, humble or anything. But the reality is small and medium enterprises have no scope in the economy. And in that no scope model, so many small and medium enterprises like us have been contributing to the economy and making it look good. The GDP has been expanding. And if you see the recent figures, there is the MSME that contributes about 85% to the Indian GDP. And the top 15% cream, which is the majority of the large industries have contributed. It is not impacting the GDP as much as the small guys have been doing. So in that little thing, in that big ocean which you talk about as a GDP ocean, which drives the Indian economy, a little bit of a work, a fluttering work, or I would say work that actually impacts, create ripples. Inertia has done those kind of things already. It has created ripples, it has created a certain type of ethics, and for this, definite credit must go to you as well. Because the team has been working. So that is my point, and it will happen to any kind of, I would say, publication if there is an ethic, where there is a commitment.
Of course, we have to always keep in mind that whatever we do has to meet up to the challenges of bringing about outcomes which are very good for the people. Number one, whatever you do has to be serving the public in a way, and as such, media is a very powerful medium where you have to think about how you can bring about outcomes that impact the people. The question is the question that you raised about is about the support that such kind of endeavors do not get overall.
They will never get, I tell you, with the current structure. We all know that, right? So what we are talking about is there is a challenge. There is a challenge, and in the space where media is also seen as commerce, slowly and steadily, there is a challenge to keep the ethics of media and keep its fourth pillar. Custodians are each publisher and editor has to be responsible. You have to be, unfortunately, a benevolent, even if you call it a dictator, because you can do a lot of things. But basically, what I mean to say is when you're doing this, it is in public domain interest or not.
How many media is doing that?
That is exactly the question we have to today ask. Most media failed during the time we guys tried to do certain things, and not only we, a few of us did. We can take a few names. Like, for example, your good friend who's on Twitter with you, our money life person, what is her name? Sucheta Dalal. She must have done a good job. So we can take a few names like that. But these names are just about 5 or 7 of us who would have done.
Otherwise, it is an entrenched army, you can say.
Absolutely. And
there are people who have allegiances to different people.
Yes.
And political class, and they are working in cohorts. And
absolutely.
A whole lot of things which has to be, as media ethics have to be brought to such an extent that media really becomes the fourth pillar of democracy.
Yeah, so whatever we planned, that in the spirit of democracy, we wanted this to be the balancing agent. Instead of that, what we have seen in our lifetime is, instead of becoming balancing agent, they are creating their own space where, like crony capitalism, there is a cronyism in media almost.
That again, it's a very interesting topic that you have raised up right now, because corporates at the end of the day, in the beginning of the media, whether it is in India or anywhere else, always had that philanthropic kind of an approach whereby you used to support media and did not expect something to be given back to you by that.
Right.
But today what has happened is every corporate is expecting you to give back some result.
Right.
That creates a challenge.
Exactly. So that means corporates look at media as a point of almost like a point of communication where they want an advantage or they want to up their brands or take advantage of their branding, take advantage of the position, maybe written about, they must be written about, and things like that keep coming. These pressures are always there. Everywhere.
For example, every media that supports you thinks that their point of view has to be amplified in the publication, or let us talk about the visual media.
Right.
And the question is, how many editors are resisting this pressure?
And why we started this dialogue this way is interesting, my friends. I want to tell you that this entire dialogue is like a precursor to whatever we said right now about media's failure. We are giving today an open evidence to that situation. Prakash has actually done a wonderful breakthrough story for Inertia in January, and it was this cover, the first cover, and you see on the top is the sins of extension, and this cover story of Inertia resulted in the resignation, or I would say simply non-appointment or non-extension of two chairmen's position in the Public Enterprise Selection Board. They were the ONGC chairman. After our story came,
Of course.
the ONGC chairman had to go.
Mr. Sudhir Vasudeva.
Sudhir Vasudeva was gone.
Because virtually Mr. Moily was left alone by Prime Minister, because Prime Minister's Appointments Committee was not willing to give him the support that was demanded.
Right, and this story had enough evidence.
And also Butola.
Butola for sure, R.S. Butola was going to get an extension as the chairman of IUCN. That also got, I would say, cancelled literally because Moily backtracked. And the funny part is, Times of India claimed, in fact, Arnab Goswami of Times now claimed that on his channel that he was doing, and you went on Twitter.
Yes.
Right, and this is our second issue, which does that.
To tell you frankly, this story was in the domain.
The second, our story was in domain. Watch what Prakash is saying. Our story was in domain.
And these guys were knowing that the extension was going to be given.
Exactly.
But stories were being planted on the strength of leaks from the Prime Minister's office and the Appointments Committee of the Cabinet, which were selectively leaking documents to the newspapers.
Exactly.
And I would not like to take the names, but ultimately there are all the publications going to town, planting stories and behaving like an entrenched media, whereby they were trying to amplify the voice of the powerful.
But I would like to come back on that.
Yeah.
The work that you did and you exposed. You went on Twitter on that day when Times was running that story, and Times ran away.
Yeah.
Arnab ran away. Arnab Goswami, claiming to be the best anchor of the country, ran away from the channel. Until date, they have not done any coverage. On the issue of what? On the issue of something that already happened. While we fought for the story, we got these chairmen's two appointments stopped because of the story that Inertia exposed, that Inertia did. But till date, Mr. B.P. Rao, chairman BHEL, whose appointment had happened much before we did the story in January, because his appointment extension happened with the help of Praful Patel and the PMO officials. And the entire incriminating documents have been done in a third part story by Prakash. Watch this on our cover in March, Inertia cover. It completely exposes the kind of work that is being done, the kind of favor, or I would say pliable appointments that has been done. And in this, the Minister Praful Patel, who belongs to the NCP in the UPA combined, and the I would say his secretary at the Ministry of Heavy Industries, his definitely tacit involvement, and the PMO, Prime Minister Office, including Kulak Chatterjee, all these people come under the fire. And also A.K. Seth, the Cabinet Secretary. Once he made B.P. Rao's appointment was not okay, and then he does an okay later on. And enough evidences are available in this. I am not getting into the nitty-gritties of the story, because this is not about that, because we have enough of this. This is available online on www.issueissuu, that is issuu.com/Inertia Journal. So you can pick up these issues online as well. So,
and Professor, I would say that all that is left in this story is for Mr. B.P. Rao to resign
absolutely,
honorably.
Absolutely. B.P. Rao, BHEL must resign. Let us come to some facts. When he got the extension on the 31st of December, what happened to B.P. Rao? Has he not superannuated?
He simply superannuated.
on the exactly same day.
Of course,
And the extension was given on the same
on
day.
the same day the letters are released without even CVC clearance.
Watch that. There was no CVC clearance. Look what Prakash is saying. There was no CVC clearance on 31st December for Mr. BP Rao. There was also a case of superannuation of Mr. BP Rao on that day. He had already crossed the age for any further appointments. He could only be appointed as an advisor to the BHL, and no other way he could stay back, and not especially he could never be the chairman and managing director of BHL again, because the rules don't permit that under the DOPT. So the Public Enterprise Selection Board,
Interestingly, Professor, these guys, the government, that is this UPA government,
the UPA government, yes.
yeah, it tried to bring out a legislation whereby all the serving officers were to be, their retirement ages were to be extended, but this legislation could not come through the parliament. When this could not come, they were taking the refuge of the Rungta committee recommendations and selectively applying the recommendations made by Rungta committee and giving these extensions to the serving CMDs without following any procedures or any kind of system.
Right.
So
Now
this
what
was
happened?
being done on a ad hoc basis.
Yeah, I would like to come and then remind you, because all this is in your story. What happens to that other gentleman, Prakash Chand, who's the real, who should have been the CMD of the company? He is given an extension, he is given an appointment in June 2013 literally.
That is very, very...
Unbelievable. And he is selected out of how many candidates?
Out of 12 candidates, Mr. Prakash Chand was selected.
Watch that.
And BHEL's senior directors also attended the interview.
Right.
And out of all these...
Out of 12 candidates.
Out of all these 12 candidates, this man is selected.
Selected by PESB.
PESB for his, for all parameters.
I would like to change that. He was not only selected, that is considered as a de facto, de jure appointment as the next BHL chairman. Am I right, sir?
Of course, he has been given an appointment letter as well.
Absolutely. So these evidences are made available, and we have
But
written.
subject to the condition that extension is not given to BP Rao.
Right. Now
What is this caveat?
the caveat people have to understand now, this is very clear that why this appointment has been done was investigated, right? 15 days before, BHL board passes an investment of roughly 2,700 crores as far as our information goes, as per market information. We need to check these figures, but we understand that 2,700 crores
Actually,
of
this
investment
entire
has been passed by the BHL board under the chairmanship of BP Rao.
Of course, this, actually you have to understand the entire thing. Prakash Chand, this PESB had actually issued a notification for the vacancy. And just 1 month before that, the Sakoli project.
Sakoli is a place in near Bhandara in the Vidarbha district.
Yeah, in Maharashtra.
Absolutely.
A project is given, sanctioned, funds are sanctioned, and all the entourage of the, ministers and shenanigans are involved there.
Absolutely.
And what happens after that?
Now remember, my
A
friends,
parallel process is set in motion for extension. Even when a normal
when already a chairman is appointed,
the process is set in motion. Both the motion is set.
the Proforma 1, Proforma 2, we have all those documents. 2 Proformas are sent, very clearly apply to befuddle the man who is appointed, that is Prakash Chand, and ensure that injustice comes to him. It's almost like open injustice done to Prakash Chand, isn't it?
If, even if he is getting selected by the PESB, a parallel process has been set in motion to supersede everything.
Then why PSB should exist? If the minister is going to have the say,
That's the
why this
fundamental
farce?
question.
Why this farce? Why have
That's the
PSB?
fundamental question.
Watch, my friends, what we are saying here is, if the Public Enterprise Selection Boards appoint candidates, and then later on the minister comes and says, give an extension or have my candidate,
Then why have the charade?
then why have this charade, my friends? Why have the charade? Of course, so this is the expose that has come, and even today, mind it, in the name of elections, I must name this, we had gone with all these documents to India's top post channels, CNN and IBN, and I personally handed over them all the records. and it was handed over to none other than Mr. Radhakrishnan Nair,
That
the
means
director news, and those guys, those Johnnies, they held it back. They kept it behind until date. They have failed to report, and they simply told that this story for us is not critical at this point of time because we are bothered about the elections. And remember, in this the PMO is indicted in the story. So that means you can know whose allegiance this channel has got. If they make an answer like that, then whose allegiance they are working on. It's very clear.
their position is your agenda cannot be our agenda. What is this agenda business? Why do media have agendas?
Absolutely.
The fundamental question is why do media have agendas?
And don't we ask the ownership of channels like CNBC, CNN, IBN?
Of course.
And the type of ownership, they are owned by business house. We are not
course.
blaming them, but we are very clear.
Of
Owned by
course.
business houses. And they cannot compete with an inertia.
Naturally.
Yes.
Because we
They have no
dig the
spine.
wells.
They have no spine.
We dig the wells to drink water.
Remember,
They are not funded by anybody.
spineless media. In this case, we want to name the CNN, IBN as spineless media. They refuse. They have all my documents. And I personally go on this. The documents have been handed over to them. Failed to act. Failed to act. In fact, refused to act. And were blatant in that refusal to act.
The point is, it is not a dogfight between media.
Absolutely. But it is a fight. It is a fight between
It is a matter of principle.
It is not. Doesn't it come to a fight between cottage media, which is fair and not funded like us?
But you are a gate crasher, boss.
We are a gate crasher, obviously, and we would like to keep crashing the gates of these channels like CNN, IBN.
So where does that leave you?
That leaves us in fighting this media.
You are an uninvited guest to a nice time that they are having.
Yes,
And how can you participate in the buffet?
No, no.
We don't want any buffets from them.
no problem, no problem. But I tell you, we have exposed this story. We promised them we will expose you. We got on video. Let them counter us. We're very clear. We're releasing this. The story is open. It is a case of cheating the country. It's a case where a minister like Praful Patel is involved.
Of course.
It is also the case where the PMO is indicted. In fact, PMO will have to go to prison if this case is totally open.
It involves a Maharatna which is having ambitions of touching 1 lakh crore,
Absolutely.
and if the nation is to fund such an organization, we have to ask what kind of people should be leading it.
Absolutely
If
right.
the media is not interested, we have to question the media as well.
That is what we are doing exactly at Inertia. We are questioning every media that fails to do this story.
And why is there always a vested interest involved for the media?
There is a vested interest because of which the story selection happens.
So you take sides.
They have taken sides. And in fact, forget about it, they suppressed the key issues of the country.
And all of a sudden they were planting stories. I am coming back to that. They were planting stories that Mr. Prakashan does not have the board level experience. A whole lot of hogwash was being carried in media. And when we do a story,
But who funded it?
and you know what Arnab Goswami and Times Now do a bold face and try to hijack the issue. Just try to say that we got this Sudhir Vasudeva.
We got this breaking story. From where on earth? And Harsha got the breaking story. Times was nowhere in the picture. And it was a story led by you. Remember, my friends, this story, breakthrough story, was led by Prakash Iyer with all documentation evidence. And we were the ones who broke the story in January. And media has failed. We already have indicted 2 of them. Arnab Goswami of Times Now and Radhakrishnan Nair, news director of CNN IBN, after taking documents from me, and he called me and took the documents, failed to do even one story on this issue, and under the garb of saying that he is busy with elections or whatever he is. And he said this was not the priority. So good, if the nations, somebody is looting the nation, and the chairman is fudging the accounts today, literally damaging the accounts of BHL, when he should not be sitting there. A man called BP Rao does it, and the media has no interest in this. They let BHL go out. And there's an issue in this. Isn't BHL under serious trouble now?
Of course it is.
A company that we love also, and we have supported at Inertia for all this year. Are not we now criticizing because of what they have done in 1 year?
They are creating redundant facilities.
Can you?
They are diverting from their core
Businesses?
areas of operations.
Absolutely.
They are doing all those things which they need not do.
Yeah,
They are trying to adjust the balance sheet of the government.
absolutely. What happened to the 19 to 20,000 crores of book value loss that they have got? What?
They are not able to recover their outstandings.
Absolutely, and we are conservative at 19,000. Media figures are 37,000 crores. We remember a story ran by the Mint, which said 37,000 crores are outstanding in the market for BHL.
That is there.
And we are only saying 19,000 crores. It says 37,000 crores of outstanding. So that's the kind of variation of figures that's coming. With 37,000 crores or 19,000 crores, we'll get somewhere in between. This range of outstanding of BHL. Will BHL be a good company? Will it not go the Air India way, my friend?
Of course. And
Up for sale?
if they have done any dressing up of the accounts, truth will come out.
Absolutely.
And we are at the job. And we will bring it out.
And we can assure you that we are going to be after this story continuously till we get to the further facts of what all fudging has been done. And definitely we will not rest unless the injustice done to Prakash Chand and other directors on the board is stopped. Mr. B.P. Rao's appointment extension is an open injustice done and an open fraud committed on the nation. A fraud because ultimately a chairman who is not worthy of sitting there anymore without a CVC clearance. Remember, Prakash Chand had CVC clearance,
Of course.
which we have published, and I will show you those documents. If you can pan the camera a little bit and I show these documents, it will be better, because let the viewers know what type of exposure we did, in this story. Let's pan on the right page, right hand side page, so this is it. And then we published all this. Can you imagine the Sutanu Beheria, secretary at the Department of Heavy Industries? He clears the appointment in spite of no CVC clearance. Mind-boggling. This is a letter of 31/12/2013.
On the same day.
On the same day. Mind-boggling. When he was supposed to superannuate, 31/12/2013, on the same day, and somebody superannuating, there is an extension of one.
Is this not called fly-by-night operation?
Absolute fly-by-night operation, my friend. Sutanu Beheria, remember, chief culprit here for doing this. The second one is another one from Sutanu Beheria. This was, I tell you, there was also Virendra Singh, Under Secretary in the Government of India, who is party to this, right? So his letter of 31/12/2013 is what we are talking about, addressed to the Department of Heavy Industry, Sutanu Beheria. Sutanu Beheria writes on 2/12/2013. See, watch this. This letter is
of the appointment committee.
It is of the appointment committee for
Of
sure.
the cabinet.
Of the cabinet. Yeah. And then the memorandum before that, 2/12, 2nd December, even before he superannuates. Everybody knows
The
he's
recommendation
superannuating.
is coming clearly from the Ministry of Heavy Industries.
And MHI, the Ministry of Heavy Industries, Sutanu Beheria, is the man who does that recommendation. So it is very clear that the ministry is also
Even
indicted.
otherwise, we have got certain documents whereby the minister has explicitly said, now work towards the extension of.
Right, we have enough documentary evidences towards this effect.
Yes.
And not only that Prakash Chand's clearance was fine and clear, was here, the evidence is here. He had the CVC clearance, and the man who had the CVC clearance does not get the post. It is a man who is supposed to be given an extension because it is favorable to the minister concerned and it is favorable to the PMO that this appointment goes through. And can you imagine this? Post our story of January, because we could not catch this initially. We only caught the appointment scam after B.P. Rao's extension was given. But then the other two extensions were not given. So what happens? Is it not the case that Mr. B.P. Rao should automatically resign?
Of course.
If Mr. ONGC chairman was not given extension, if Butola IOCL was not given, how can his extension be valid now?
It's a case of criminality.
It is a case of criminality, of continuing with this extension and allowing this man to play with the accounts of BHEL.
Of course.
Of course, this is a criminal act.
And what purpose is serving?
Shouldn't this criminal act result in indictment of PMO, the MHI, and as well as Mr. B.P. Rao for
No.
this is a conspiracy against the country.
Now, Professor, PMO has done so many things.
This is just one of them.
This is another one.
Mind-boggling. And I tell you, my friends, on the 28th of February 2014, Prakash Iyer wrote to Pradeep Kumar, the Chief Vigilance Commissioner of India, asking, has he given a letter of clearance from the CVC in retrospect? Watch my words. If in retrospect anything is given, I tell you, it is a criminal act by CVC itself.
It's very clear. Vigilance Administration demands wide guideline issued by Mr.
N. Vittal.
Vittal
Yes.
in 1999.
Yes,
We are talking about 15 years ago.
absolutely.
And Vigilance Administration demands all the board level appointees by the government, central government agencies or departments
Must mandatorily get,
must mandatorily have the vigilance clearance.
without which an appointment cannot be done.
It is illegal.
Right. So illegal act is committed without a CVC clearance.
Of course.
In this case, watch that what he says. Illegal act committed without CVC clearance, the extension to BP Rao could never be given. Am I right?
Of course.
So that is a criminal act in itself.
They have to be prosecuted.
All of these people, and if CVC, I want to ask, with all due honor to the CVC, I want to ask this question. The media was the fourth pillar, and it must correct this. It must take the chance and take it to the position of challenging. If CVC, we have asked the question and they have failed to reply till date, right? You sent a rejoinder recently, and they have failed to reply. And I must tell you, my friends, if they give any clearance in retrospect, CVC criminal case must be filed against the Chief Vigilance Commission. Am I right?
Right.
He is liable to be
All that is
prosecuted.
left for BP Rao is to resign. That is the best outcome of this entire imbroglio, you have to say, imbroglio.
But it is creating almost a constitutional crisis
It's
where the CVC gets into trouble.
I would not call it a constitutional crisis in that sense, but still I would demand that, for the better administration of the public sector undertakings, certain norms, inviolable norms are followed.
But what happens to an institution like CVC? Now, the cloud comes on an institution like CVC that such appointment extension are being given on a constant basis. This is what we understand from our sources. Such clandestine acts are being committed at the CVC end.
The million-dollar question is whether the governments of the day have the right to abuse institutions.
But they are.
They're blatant.
It is very open now.
They're blatant.
If CVC has not done anything, they should have replied to the inertia letter and Falcon Media letter of 20th February 2014, which they have failed till date. Because in our letter, we were pretty clear that as on 31st January 2014, there was, I'm sorry, this was the circa 2014, not 2013, February 2014 letter, and 31st Jan 2014, till that date, BP Rao had not received any CVC clearance. Am I right, sir?
Yeah, of course.
And that was CVC's own reply to another person whom we don't want to name here, and the record of that communication was available to us through the media domain. So under the circumstances, CVC had not issued clearance when they gave extension to BP Rao. Am I right? So now what is the way out? Prakash, what is the way out of this?
Number one,
Somebody has to sack if he does not resign.
these matters should not have come to this head.
Right?
Something which is, intrinsically not maintainable under law
Right.
should never have been executed. But since the Prime Minister has done what it should not have done, now the only thing to be done is revoke that appointment.
Right. But who will revoke? The PM is gone and there is a new Prime Minister by the time the government comes. I tell you, the wonderful part is, by the time the government comes, it will be already end of May and June will start. And I tell you what a trick has been played. Prakash Chand's appointment will become, which was done in last June 2013. By June 2014, that would collapse. So that means an open injustice is executed on Prakash Chand. Am I right, sir?
I to find out, I think it's a matter of investigation whether this will lapse or it remains valid for more than 1 year.
No, it will not be valid for more than 1 year, I can tell you very openly.
If an
And this is the
appointment
truth.
process has to be done, then a serious injustice has been.
It is an open injustice being committed on Prakash Chand.
And interestingly, Professor, what they have done is.
Prakash Chand, by the way, today Executive Director at BHL Haridwar, my friends. My viewers here, I must tell you, he remains an ED at Haridwar. And if all the cock and bull stories about that Prakash Chand did not have the caliber, then how can he run the biggest plant of the country of BHEL at Haridwar? Haridwar facilities are the best
But
facilities
those were
of
stories
BHEL.
selectively
Planted.
leaked and planted by, the Prime Minister's office, Ministry of Heavy Industries, and some of the vested interests in the BHEL. Contrary to what was being done even before the extension was being provided, they were going to the media saying that he is likely to be extended.
Now imagine that after giving him everything, after having all clearances, appointing him, the Public Enterprise Selection Board appointing him and selecting him and giving him the next charge, right? After that, that paper remains there. It is treated like just a piece of whatever we call it, right?
And the million dollar question is, media is doing speculative reporting.
And no media has taken up this cause at all.
Once he has been given an extension,
I am saying visual media has completely failed. I must congratulate here one more magazine, no, Bureaucracy Today, which did some story.
Of
It
course.
was not Inertia alone. Of course, our I would say our publications are very different. Bureaucracy Today looks at the government issues and all those things, but we are looking at energy specific and power specific issues. And BHL is a darling company which we at Inertia consider to be one of the finest manufacturing companies in the world. And the same was the case with Air India once upon a time. And the same minister is involved. The minister who destroyed Air India is involved in destroying BHL today.
and another breaking news is they've given us a response to an RTI that they have secured substantial acres of land at throwaway value.
Oh my God! Another breaking story. Prakash got through an RTI reply from BHL that for this Sakoli project, they have something like 477 acres bought at roughly 54 to 55 crores?
Of course,
Around
57 crores.
Around 57 crores to be precise. So that's the type of throwaway price at which land has been taken. So is it that this land has been taken properly, or this land is belonging to some people who have some vested interests and it's been taken? And not only
And
that,
Professor, I want to ask you another question. Then, how do you justify an investment of 3,000 crores?
nobody can justify. That is what my first question to you was. See, today for a PV fabrication plant, we don't need more than 100 crores of investment. So why this 2,700 crores? My friends, a matter of open investigation. Why 2,700 crores has been put?
In between, stories were also being leaked that this facility will be assisting the Trichy facility for their boilers.
But that is not true, because this is a PV fabrication plant. Let us understand. And PV fabrication, my friends, is plain using steel and structurals, and it has nothing to do with actual solar photovoltaic technology, because BHL has only 8 megawatt of solar photovoltaic manufacturing, which is based in Bangalore, and that is too less for them to execute. They will connect this with a 4,000 megawatt solar ultra mega project which they are doing in Rajasthan, but they can never execute it because to execute a 4,000 megawatt plant, which should be done in the next, they put a 7-year path. That means in 7 years BHL will have a capacity and then they will execute it. That is the most silly project that you can talk about, 7 years path for a solar PV project. Solar PV project, like for example the Charanka solar park, the first 215 megawatt came in barely 1 year, and so just waiting for eternity to complete a project. It is never done, and therefore why you are in a hurry to invest 2,700 crores? Okay, I also want to ask Prakash a question. When BHL making 19,000 crores, how can it do such a big investment?
That's $1 million question.
Why don't we question this? When BHL's balance sheet does not allow them, they fail to do any kind of investment in any other small investment they are unable to do. How they have allocated 2,700 crores?
And was this the same project that was supposed to be set up, that is this facility was supposed to be set up at Latur?
I think so.
Mr.
That must be
Vilasrao
investigated.
Deshmukh was the
Absolutely.
minister.
I think we must investigate everything. What's
So-
happening?
So the locations keep changing according to the ministers?
Absolutely. Everything. In fact, there is a much bigger case which will keep coming. In fact, in one of our other issues, we will talk about how CSR is being manipulated under the minister. But it is not the discussion today. But to that extent, the involvement of ministers in actually creaming out, or I would simply telling you, skimming the milk out of our PSUs. They have been destroying our PSUs, and this minister, Praful Patel, as a dubious character, because he destroyed Air India, and he has done everything to destroy BHL as well in his tenure. And when he's going, he is given a destroyed BHL to the country.
And what do you say about, the government eyeing the cash reserves of these companies?
We do not know whether these cash reserves have been totally used in the elections. Has been BHL's position misused? Mr. Rao has been so pliable that what all he has done, he must not have the power to sign any document But look at this, he was not even given the position of an acting chairman. He was ensured that a position, full-fledged position of an extension is given to him so that BHL's cash can be used wherever it can be. And the elections are going on, we do not know unless we investigate what has happened. The decisions are made, and what is the hurry to give an extension before elections? And then if you are superannuated, the game was over. If there was already a chairman, the question does not arise. So why this was done?
So many chairmen have retired in the past.
And why extension is extended to the next government? The next government has no reason to keep him. They will say, you are superannuated, you cannot remain.
You have to talk about such star performers like Mr. Subir Raha. He was never provided an extension.
Many very star performers have not been provided extension in this country. And this includes R.S. Sharma, who is now in Jindal, right? Of the NTPC. He was never provided. R.S. Sharma was not provided extension. No chairman of even the best company.
Or even K. Ravi Kumar.
Yes, K. Ravi Kumar was not provided. He was only provided an interim extension for a few months. So can you imagine one of the finest chairmen of BHL is not being provided extension? And I can also assure you that in old times, you must remember Yogendra Prasad. He was never given an extension. He was simply shunted out of NHPC. So it's very clear. If there is no pliable boss of a PSU and the minister wants a pliable boss, he can go and do anything like a Casanova.
And NHPC is like a headless chicken for the last 4 or 5 years now.
Absolutely. And all these companies, including NHPC, the power companies, have been interfered in, fiddled with and destroyed. The only thing that has not been fiddled with is NTPC, and I don't know how long it will remain away from the minister's prying eyes. And I hope the next government does not do anything like this to our PSUs, because this kind of destruction
but
of PSUs.
NTPC's blood has been sucked by the minister. In the Reliance issue, maybe we will be talking about that later.
Yeah, NTPC 24 to 30,000 crores losses, and that is also a cover story in our March issue on the Reliance, whether it was fair to give them the gas price rise, but that will become a part of our next episode. But right now we are sticking to the BHL issue of the criminality in giving extension to BP Rao, where PMO and MHI stand indicted, and that is an inertia story and exposed in the country. An inertia, your journal that has been committed to the nation and has been committed to the nation's energy, power and infrastructure will continue to break through with such issues as the days come. And we must congratulate Prakash for this, and my personal congratulations to you for achieving this success. And one last word, on this BP Rao story. What are the next things? What are the next steps to ensuring that correction factors is achieved?
Professor, for starters, we are on the story.
We are not going to stop.
We are in the process of finding out many truths which will bring so many things to light.
Absolutely.
And at the end of the day, Mr. BP Rao has to say, enough is enough, I have to resign. I have to pass on the mantle.
But if he does not say that, which is blatant, which looks
He has
like
to be
he's sticking
kicked
to the
out.
chair, he has to be kicked out, absolutely right.
And
what Prakash says is he will have to be kicked out if he does not go.
And the new government, when it comes back, to restore the morale of an organization like BHEL, which is a premier equipment manufacturer for the power sector, it is important for you to take out Mr. BP Rao from the system and pass on the mantle to the person who is deserving, who is selected, and if no matter what, whoever takes the charge after Mr. BP Rao has got to go.
He has got to go. And there are other guys who are capable on the board, and at the top is Prakash Chand.
Organizations do not end with individuals.
Absolutely. And we must do justice to a man called Prakash.
If it goes, then Mr. BP Rao has done severe damage to the organization.
He has already achieved the damage. He has done the damage. He has pushed a position where it's very clear that even if a public enterprise selection board is involved in the selection of a new candidate, I can go to the minister, call favors with him, do favors to him, and I can get my extension. That is the example Mr. BP Rao has set. And with this,
So end this entire segment with a good saying. All those people who thought that the world is going to end after them are buried in their graves.
watch that. and keep watching us. That was Prakash Iyer, executive publisher and editor of Inertia, and he is also the secretary and treasurer of the Inertia Foundation, and he is also the secretary general for the Renewable Energy Promotion Association. He was with me, and don't forget, it was Prakash Iyer and me who authored the famous book India Brandish, The Branding of a Nation, which brought forward India as an economic brand in the world. In 2003-2004, we wrote that book, which was very popular, and it is a self-publishing book because we have not gone to a commercial angle of publishing, and we will bring the next, I would say, edition of the book, fourth edition of the book, shortly with the changes in the current economic situation. With that promise, we say goodbye on this episode of the Inertia Dialogues with Prakash Iyer. Bye-bye for now, and see you again on this Enfra show in Enfra TV. In the meanwhile, goodbye and good luck to all our readers and viewers of this particular show.
Bye-bye.